base in. Keep your questions ideally until the end. I'm Jacob Carney. I'm the National Corporate Account Manager at Dulux, and with me is Alison Mahoney, who's the National Property Services Manager. Thanks for your time and attending the session today through Procurement Australasia and ourselves. Today we're pretty much going to go through a bit on property maintenance, the importance of a plan, as well as kind of our portfolio to see if there's anything that suits you. And we'll see how we get to the end. But if anything comes up as we go, remember just to chuck it in the chat function before we get to the end. Do you want to start us off, Ellie?
Yep, sure. So thanks, team. Thanks for attending. This is our first presentation of this kind. So I'm really keen for your feedback to tell us if you know what you'd like to hear more of or less of, or what we can do differently, because we're really keen to make sure that what we're talking about is really valuable to you. So welcome. You know, really briefly, we've been a partner of Procurement Australasia for 20 years, which is surprising to me, a very long time. And I think the really important thing for us is that we've really got to be delivering value to their members, and we think that can come in the form of a really broad product portfolio that we've got that we can touch on today, but actually also the service that we provide Procurement Australasia members, which helps you with your painting projects. And I guess what that means is you don't have to be paint experts. You know, when you have projects or activities, no matter how big or small, you can contact us and we can help you with that. So a brief history, a 2-second history of Dulux. I'm sure you have all heard of the Dulux, if not even just for the Dulux dog who you might have seen around the place. You know, I guess it's worth mentioning we're over 100 years in Australia. We celebrated that last year. We recently built a new manufacturing facility, only about 1 or 2 years old, in Merrifield in Victoria. So as far as you know, manufacturing efficiencies and sustainability, you know, really state-of-the-art facility there in Merrifield, Victoria. And the other thing that's worth noting is, you know, we've got R&D facilities and a whole lot of access to our, you know, corporate kind of functions here in Australia. And you know, the gentleman down the bottom there is one of the 60-odd chemists we have who just works on innovation for paint. And I think what that means, I guess, for you, you know, is that we've been around for quite a long time. And I think when you've got property, property is around for a long time. And I think it's worth kind of, you know, noting that, hey, you know, it's likely we've been on your property in some form before, and we'll be around when there are issues kind of into the future. So next one is, this is kind of a bit of a complicated picture, and actually I don't know if there's a mentee question before or after this, Jacob, but this is actually all of the brands, or some of the brands actually, that we can offer that might help on your property painting projects. So that's actually brands that we offer under the Dulux Group portfolio. And I guess, you know, what this story should hopefully be able to tell you is actually we're more than just you know, decorative paint on the inside and outside of your property. There's a whole lot more really technical coatings products that we provide. And I'm really keen to hear, you know, how much of those you are aware of, and how much you might even be using yourself, and how much of these products might be beneficial to you. Some of the innovation we've got really does talk to making things more efficient and much more safer, and, you know, getting you back onto your property in less time. So let's do our first little mentee question. So Jacob, do you want to tell the team how to participate?
So for those who haven't used this before, this is a quick little program you can do on your phone or on your computer if you've got it in front of you. So if you just jump into www.mentee.com, as it says there on the screen, and use that as your code to log in, this question will appear with the choice of answers. It'll just be kind of a live program that we can see for those of you who have answered, if you're aware of the full kind of brands and solutions.
So I wonder, do you think we could go back to that slide even? Do you think so people can kind of have a look? Oh, I guess they'll need to know that code.
it's already trending in the direction we thought it might.
Yeah. So we had things like Fosrock and Emma waterproofing and concrete repair solutions. We had protective coatings, which is things for steel and aluminium, you know, in corrosive environments. We had roofing products to put a membrane over your roof with Acrotex. I don't know if you know about Porters. Porters is a really lovely boutique paint brand that's got lots of really unusual interior and exterior finishes. So that's under the Dulux group portfolio. We've got Dulux powder coatings, so prefabricated powder coatings and windows, you know, and those kind of products. What else have I included?
B&D, roller doors.
Oh, B&D, roller doors, yeah. Lincoln Central, we haven't got them on our slide. Oh, Vista, so concrete products. Looks like we're getting not one person. Wow. That's great. It's great to know.
I don't know I should have logged in to answer.
So I guess we wanted to get a sense for, you know, whether you're aware of this, because I guess when you're talking about product maintenance, you know, paint is one kind of part of the solution, but actually there's a whole lot of other coating products that goes into, you know, looking after your property. And I guess if there's one thing that you come away with today, it's that, hey, you know, we've got a bit of an awareness of some of these brands, and that you know that you've got some contact details of the team at Dulux who can help you with a bit more detail on those. So should we go to the next slide?
First taster for mentee.
Oh yeah, okay. We've got another one.
A pretty similar question that will come back in. So the phone should move. Ideally, if you're still logged into it, to the next.
Yep. It will be the same. Same code. Yep.
Yeah. So this will kind of list out of those brands what would be kind of most relevant to you. Most of the products or the portfolio, all, some, not many, or none. If any nones come up, you possibly the wrong or the wrong meeting, but welcome. Good to have you.
Or we haven't got enough solutions.
Well, that's another way to look at it. Five so far, so just
that's good.
Now the race is on.
And once you get using this this little app, it can be really useful. So we're kind of beginners at it, but hopefully by the end of the presentation or the next few, you know, we'll get a sense for it, because it's a really good way for us to understand, you know, what you're thinking and what's relevant to you.
Yeah, definitely. So it's good that at least our portfolio is hitting most of the sweet spots there for your assets, which is really good to hear.
Yeah, and the intention of today is to talk firstly, which Jacob can go on with. Oh, yep. So he's got one last question. Oh no, that's it. I think we've answered that one. Yep. Next one. So the intention is for us to talk, and Jacob will lead in now with a little bit about the service that we, you know, some of the details around property maintenance and things that are really important for you to know, the service that we offer, and then we'll do a really broad sweep at the end of just some of the products we think might be relevant to you guys that might pique your interest. And again, we'll follow up with any questions and contact details so that you can find out more. So over to you, Jacob.
So some of these pictures you might have come across or have similar problems on your assets. So kind of from the top right, we have some efflorescence, which is you don't need to know it all, but some moisture coming back through your substrate and out of your coatings. The bottom right is kind of paint sagging from no waterproofing on the other side of the substrate. And that kind of bottom left is just your general cracking. So it's really important to get on top of property maintenance or have a plan for it before we reach these issues, because a lot of the costs can be when you wait too long to fix it. So faded aesthetics show that it has deteriorated over time. This is kind of more prominent in those kind of coastal areas or anything where it's in some pretty hectic climates, but it definitely appears in even regional areas that aren't too close to this. And they might be familiar pictures to you all. Substrate cracks or remedial issues can lead to something called concrete spalling or concrete cancer, which is a pretty common word. And it's always good to seek out a project manager, third party or engineer to assess these issues before they become a really big fixed cost. So I think Alison's got a small story on a particular project about that. And it's always good that painting a property can kind of help reduce those costs before they lead on to much bigger costs.
And I mean, I'm sure we all, it seems kind of relatively self-explanatory that, hey, the longer you leave a maintenance problem, the more it can cost. And an example of that is, you know, we deal with a lot of body corporates who, you know, own a multi-storey building and have sinking funds or sometimes not. An example that I like to reference is one in the Gold Coast. It's kind of a famous one that's a round, quite ugly concrete building. They're all concrete painted buildings in the Gold Coast. This building had really significant concrete cancer, and the committee got a quote to repair it, and it was around $2.5 to $3 million as a remediation project. It was right on the beach there in the Gold Coast. Anyway, they, you know, obviously were mortified by the cost and kind of, you know, didn't do anything about it and left it. And they left it, I think it was another year and a half, until a piece of concrete fell onto the beach from off the building. And when they got the quote to re-quote that same kind of issue that they had quoted before, it was up around $6 or $7 million by that stage to fix. And again, you know, right on the beach, significant issues that were only getting worse. So really important that, and you know, prior to painting, the worst thing you can do is paint over a crack and hope it'll go away. You know, we always recommend that address those issues first, and you know, that will prevent you much bigger costs in the future.
So we'll jump into another quick question. So how often do you repaint the exterior of your buildings? It doesn't necessarily have to be you yourself, can be contractors, but it's always good for us to know the general time frame. The repaint windows generally between kind of 7 and 10 years. I don't want to lead into that question just so you automatically choose those, but we find that they're generally much longer than that before they get recoated. So again, if you're new to Mentee, for those of you who joined a bit late, you can jump onto www.mentee.com and type that code in, and you'll be able to give a quick answer to this question live as we see it. So that's looking like a pretty good time frame, a pretty good spread. The 1 to 3 years, I'm definitely keen to have a talk to you on how you've managed it so well. And the 11 plus, I'm also definitely keen to have a talk to you and if we can help out more there. But we'll go into kind of the service offer that we have. Onto the next slide. So property maintenance, what is a plan and why do I need one? You're probably, again, not trying to make anyone learn anything they don't already know, but it's pretty important to kind of have these maintenance plans and have these fixed costs, or at least a knowledge of what cost it's going to be to do these upgrades before they become big issues. So there's basically legislative ones for many states. Some of the asset owners or asset property managers in this chat may already have plans in place which meet these requirements. Missing a piece can lead to large costs. So what we kind of mean by that is it's always good to get a full review of the asset, which is something that we do in property services for you complimentary. We can come and have a look at the asset with you, and if it's going to lead towards higher remedial recommendations, then we can assist in locating a third party for that, whether it's an engineer or like. We can also assist in kind of helping with organising the best way to cost out that assets, whether it's kind of CapEx or ongoing maintenance, and what's going to work for you. So the main thing we do at Property Services is tailor a specification. So the painting specification looks like what it looks like on the left there of your screen, where we'll come and have a walk through the asset with you there if possible, or with a maintenance manager, or if it's just an external, we can just have a walk around. And we'll put together a system based on what we see that would suit, one, the asset for the future and long length of time that you want to keep it around, but also if there's any budgetary requirements, then we would tailor the asset, tailor a specification to suit that asset. We can also tailor that specification further to suit, if it's ongoing maintenance, is more how you're paying out the contracting. We can build the system to also suit what would get painted first year, second year, third year, and onwards. So really important to get us involved. It is complimentary with you and your relationship manager that we can come out and review those assets with you. So this is what it is. So when we visit the site, we'll look at all the existing substrates that you're looking at coating. So that can be, again, resurfacing of concrete driveways or paths to your normal decorative coating, waterproofing, and any kind of even future new construction add-ons that you want us to look at. We can put that all together in a specification. This can help you with budgeting out, as well as knowing the requirements to get kind of your warranty and the length of time. We'll exclude any areas that you want excluded in the quote. As you put this together, it kind of helps give a really comprehensive scope of works to help with your tendering process.
Just before he moves on with that, and actually, whilst you're kind of doing the next mentee question, well, it's one thing that's worth noting is when you have a painting specification prior to tendering any works on your property, I guess what you'd say is that it helps align your tendering contractors so they're tendering like for like. So it's, you know, we want you to use this paint in these areas, and this is what's included and this is what's excluded in scope. Actually, you get much better quote responses because you've been really specific about what you're asking to be quoted on and how to do it. And the other point that's really important is if it's followed, that Dulux specification, it comes with a Dulux commercial product warranty, which warrants your building and the systems used, and you've got that documentation, and that's something that's really important, I think, particularly for large or for, you know, for your commercial property. And again, it's free. It's a free service we offer asset owners to help manage painting projects. So we've got a question: what proportion of a paint project is the actual paint itself? So that's a really interesting. Don't tell them the answer yet. I'm just curious to know, because as you can imagine, guys, you know, some different projects, you know, for instance, carpet is a significant cost, and the labour is, you know, kind of similar. You know, just interesting to understand what proportion we think that paint is of a paint project. So we're sticking at a. How many have we got who've answered so far?
So at the bottom right. You can see.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I can see that tiny. Any last minute entries? Okay, it looks like that we might have halted there. Actually, you guys are about right. So paint kind of varies depending on the nature of the project, particularly if there's, you know, remediation that's required. But actually, paint is kind of between 10 to 15 or even max of 20% of a paint project. And I think what's really important about that, and Jacob, you know, feel free to kind of chime in here, is that you know, if paint is actually a small proportion of the cost of the job, actually it's the most enduring part of the job, and it's the part that's going to be there for the longest. So we always say, you know, and it's kind of corny, but the worth Dulux is really about, hey, you know, invest in the right part of the project, because actually that's what you're going to get your durability and colour fastness and product quality over that life of the building. So we thought that was worth flagging that's an interesting fact.
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's the same thing with the specification. So it'll outline the correct ways to according to Australian standards to coat the products and to coat the substrates so that they're all done and the coating's going to last. And that'll list kind of the dry times and recoat times, which we're always happy to have those conversations with contractors about, but also yourselves before a project starts to make you aware of these things to really get the most out of the coating again. So how to reduce your maintenance costs. So investing in doing it right the first time, again, is something that you're all aware of, and everyone would like to have that kind of infinite supply of money to always be able to do that. But really taking the time to make sure you're hitting all the key points for the project, which can easily involve us, again, at no charge to you. So you can have the chat to your relationship manager at Procurement Australasia to organise us to come out and get a site visit in. We'll always be kind of just a phone call or email away to have a look at your asset. That is slightly delayed in Victoria at the moment, but all the other states will definitely be able to assist. And until that time, definitely happy to look at photos if you've got projects that are coming up even more soon that we can't get out to have a look at. You can also discuss tendered solutions with your RM, so they're able to review with you the tenders that come in to make sure you're getting the right answers to the right questions, and again, using that specification to help give a clear scope of works. So it's always good to get, again, the apples for apples costing. You should always be seeking multiple quotes, either 3 to 4, just to make sure that everyone's, you're getting kind of a good ballpark and there's any outliers. But we're always happy to talk those through as they come. And if quotes do come in too high, we can always review the specifications, what's going to suit, again, your budget requirements. Plan not only the coatings, but also time to review them. Washing down's a really big factor. So the majority of kind of fade and issues can come and be solved just with wash downs, whether that's kind of yearly or a bit more soon, depending how what the climate is around you. Those coastal areas might be a bit more, might require more wash downs in general a bit earlier, and some might go a bit further, but it's always really important to have that wash down factored in as an ongoing cost to really get the most out of your coating. Keeping the documents and colour names can be pretty tricky. I think every project we come across now, it's hard to find one that knows exactly the name of the colour that they had. It's always left with a prior manager who never kept it or didn't know. We do our best currently to keep this on our CRM. So if you are aware of the colours you are going to move forward with, and let us know, we can always help you track that for future years' time when you want to review it. So the property services team is available in all states. So I'm here as a kind of national counterpart as well as Victoria. And there to walk through the asset, create the specification, support you with the project as it goes on, and assist with questions and queries throughout. We'll also be the one signing off the warranty, again, with the contractors that you select on the job. And there'll be, again, one of us in each of the states. We've also got 300 plus Dulux trade centres, whether that's Inspirations, our trade outlets, or Paint Spot in Victoria. And we've also got the next day delivery to job sites. So always there to be able to get you products quickly and the right products where you need them.
I think that's one of the things that I think when we ask our painting contractors, you know, what's one of the kind of key things that's really kind of supportive or beneficial for them about using Dulux, and a lot of them say it's because we're, you know, obviously have really great product quality, but actually that we're available and in all locations, you know, regional and metro. So we have about as many stores in our trade network as Bunnings has in their, you know, retail network, and we're also obviously distributed through Bunnings. So, you know, that's hopefully a really key benefit, particularly for some of those regional members. So the next few slides, now we're not going to go over products in too much detail, but what we are going to do is touch on some of the key products in our range, and I guess, you know, what makes them different or what might be interesting about them. So I hope most of you know Weather Shield, which is our kind of flagship exterior brand, and we've recently relaunched that. I guess the one thing I'd say about it is that, you know, it's probably the most kind of used paint in the market as far as exterior go. You know, we've done, you know, research with our painters, and it's, you know, 9 out of 10 kind of painters recommend Weather Shield. And I guess, you know, really importantly, there's more good stuff. There's more paint solid content and less water in Weather Shield than other paints. There's even a whole lot of other testing that we can talk to you about. And see those little white kind of dot points there is, you know, we've got testing around flexibility and toughness and flash rusting and tannin blocking and adhesion and, you know, stain resistance. But I guess, you know, it's really worth making sure that you know that, hey, we put a lot of time and resource into making sure that Weather Shield is the top performing product in the category. So hopefully that's a good kind of thing for you to remember when you're using the product. Now remember we were talking about that big broad range of other products that we have. So Weather Shield is what you call a decorative paint product. Acrotex or AcroShield is what you call a membrane coating. And so there's a whole kind of range of products within this Acrotex range. And I guess the key thing to remember with a membrane coating is that it's a thicker, stretchier paint that bridges cracks. And so if you've got a concrete building, particularly with a lot of these concrete panels that buildings are built with these days and render, you know, ultimately it will always crack because of the way concrete expands and contracts. And so painting with a decorative coating can be great, but actually you'll start to see those little hairline cracks appear in a couple of years. So we always recommend AcroShield for concrete buildings, and you know you really get much longer durability out of a membrane coating and much better protection against things like efflorescence, which is what Jacob was showing before. So I won't go into too much detail, and really happy at the end for you to type in your questions if you've got a specific, but it's worth noting that we've got a really good range of membrane products for your roof and for your buildings as well, for your walls. Actually, I don't know if many of you on the call have many heritage buildings. We tend to find some of our Procurement Australia members do, but we've actually got a product with our Porters range, which is specifically designed for heritage buildings. It's a breathable coating, which is ideal for protecting heritage buildings. And there's a good little example there of the Palais Theatre that Porters was on, Prince's Theatre it's also on, lots of even newer buildings that want to have more of a translucent kind of coating. This is the option. The other great thing about Porters mineral paint is that it's got a 25-year warranty, which is a really you know, great benefit. And I guess what the idea of it is that it retains the original concrete look, and still gives you really good properties around, you know, algae and fungal resistant and colour fastness. So really great product for heritage buildings. This is a bit of a taster from our protective coatings business, really technical category protective coatings, but we do still see that Procurement Australia members are purchasing this and doing some of it themselves, which is really interesting. I guess the couple of things I'd say is that protective coatings are for metal and aluminium and steel structures that are, you know, subject to obviously corrosion. Couple of the new things that's worth talking about in these range of products, we've got a product range called Duration, which is actually a water-based polyurethane top coat. So if you think of a lot of paint that goes on steel and aluminium, a lot of it's solvent based and really smelly, really kind of nasties, I guess, but that's so that you get that really good corrosion protection. So you know, one of the first of its kind, this Duration range, actually is water based. So we're finding we're using this product for things like prisons where you know, they have to get prisoners in quickly, and obviously those environmental properties are really important. So that's a new product. We've even got a new anti-graffiti, which is a water-based anti-graffiti product, which we've been using on, you know, highways, on the walls there. Again, you know, typically those type of products in the past have been really kind of heavy, nasty, solvent-based. I guess the most popular product in this protective coatings kind of range is our DuraBuild and WeatherMax combination. It's really the most kind of specified system. It's again really hard wearing, really durable. I think the MCG is painted in DuraBuild and WeatherMax. Actually, those the red sticks over the freeway in Melbourne are that as well, and they're still looking really great. So again, we won't go into too much detail, but keen if you have any specific questions at the end. I think the main thing we'd love you to take out of this is, oh wow, I didn't know they had those products, and that sounds interesting, and I'd love to kind of find out more. Actually, yeah, maybe a good time for a quick question, because now we're all in the swing of it. Does anybody use those kind of PC, those protective coatings products, which might be a little more difficult than your average, painting product? Just out of curiosity to see what kind of complexity that you guys are painting yourselves, and potentially what you might be contracting out. So we've got one anti-graffiti. I wonder if that's the team from the schools that we've got, because we know that we tend to use that there. Couple more seconds and we'll see if we get any more answers. The other thing worth mentioning while we're on it is there's a flooring product that we've got called Luxafloor, which you'll see at the very end there, and that's actually a fast cure flooring product. Now it's 24-hour cure, isn't it, Jacob?
That's right.
So 24-hour fully cured, that you can drive a BW onto the surface. So if you've got an apartment building that needs to have cars back in, or any kind of area that needs a return to service really fast, there really wasn't anything. Typically, the typical kind of serviceability is around 7 days. So again, I'd argue that some of our painters won't even know about some of these products that are so new and out that can really help solve your problems much quicker. We can probably go on to the next. Timber finishes. So we also own Cabots and Intergrain, which are really good quality timber stains. So I probably won't go into too much detail, but decking and timber care is a really important area. That's probably an area that's neglected the most in the marketplace. We recommend that you should be recoating timber kind of every 12 months. And at least inspecting it every kind of 6 to 12. So that's a lot of architectural buildings these days have timber on it, and potentially we don't look after it as well as we should. So again, worth talking to us if you have any timber product on your building. Wash and wear. So hopefully that would be another brand that comes to mind when you think of what Dulux offers. Similarly to Weather Shield, again, we've got more volume solids and less water than other paints. So I guess, more of the good stuff, more of the stuff that makes it stick to the building and hold these properties like, biocides and the colour, the pigment, which is important for you to know that's kind of what you're paying for when you buy Dulux. And we also do some really kind of regular testing around the stain resistance and the durability of wash and wear in the marketplace, which you can see by the little stain panels. We thought it worth really noting at this point, particularly with COVID, that clinical or protection that's antimicrobial, antibacterial, much more resistant to cleaning cycles is really, really important these days, and we're seeing a lot of this. So we've got a product that was specifically developed actually quite a long time ago called SteriGuard, which we use in a lot of hospitals, a lot of aged care properties. And I guess the key thing to think about with this product is that it can withstand regular cleaning cycles and be rubbed and scrubbed without actually wearing away the coating. We've got it in still kind of low sheen finishes. So there's a lot of those types of really kind of hard wearing surfaces tend to be really glossy, but it doesn't really look great to have glossy surfaces everywhere. And, you know, it's got bioprof technology, which is kind of the industry standard in the medical field around, you know, antimicrobial and antibacteria. So, you know, that's a really good product to use, particularly now. Last little couple, and then I'll stop talking about products. We get really excited about some of these, and hopefully the odd one has triggered your interest. Porter's paint, one of the things we see really regularly, and I'd be keen to know if this happens to you guys, is that on doors, dark coloured doors is all the rage these days, particularly with hotels and foyers of apartment buildings. But there's what's called marring, so black colours, you know, scuff a lot more easily. So our Porter's Aqua Satin enamel is one of the best on the market for resisting marring and you know, keeping that dark colour looking really good. And the other one from Porter's is our stone paint, which you can use interior or exterior, and it kind of looks like, you know, as you can see down that Tuscan, nice kind of textured finish. And it's got colour fade resistance, and actually has formulated with marble dust inside it to give you that stone kind of look. Last couple is a vista, so that's really for if you're sealing concrete driveways and surfaces. Again, so instead of, we can offer you resurfacing options, but we can also offer you resealing, which is much simpler and can really add colour and life to concrete driveways. And actually this range of products of Vista is much more user-friendly for people like yourself and myself who isn't your technical flooring applicator. And then if we finish off with our kind of, you know, we talked a little bit before, our concrete remediation and waterproofing products. So we've actually got two ranges that we can choose from when it comes to, you know, you can see that building down the bottom that Jacob's pointing to, you know, when you've got concrete cancer in that building in Gold Coast that needs to be chiseled out and packed and filled and mortared in there. We've got a range of products called Emma, which is kind of new to the market, which is all those concrete remediation type products. And waterproofing, which is great for balconies. You know, again, one of the biggest issues we see with a lot of apartment buildings is waterproofing on the balcony. And we've even got paintable joint sealants as well, which helps to make the building look much nicer. And if we don't have it in the Emma range, which is tailored more to kind of properties like, you know, I guess you'd say commercial properties, Fosrock is our other brand, which is our kind of heavy duty concrete remediation and waterproofing brand. So again, when you get a Dulux specification, you don't just get the Weather Shield paint system on the outside. You actually get a system that's got all of these products if that's part of the scope of your project, which means you have to deal with less people and less companies for more of your kind of building projects. So that's probably enough on product. Hopefully your head isn't spinning, but we thought we'd give you a bit of a sense for some of those key products that we offer.
I will touch on one more product while you've got me. So this is one of our newest products, which is our Enviro II range, which is kind of really high on our list of sustainability things that we really want to ensure we're supporting in our current environment and moving forward. Our normal products, wash and wear and the like, are still meet our kind of green star rating, but this is kind of market leading now with a really low VOC. So for VOC is volatile organic compounds, and it's something that comes out of all coatings and carpet and things over time. And we've really worked hard to make sure that it's kind of less than 1 gram, which again is market leading. It's as close to zero as you can get when you sell paint, which is really good to now have available, which will probably be released at the end of this month. So here's kind of just a couple of key projects to talk through, and then I'll make sure that we've got a little bit of time for answering some questions that come through. So kind of the key one at the top left there, hopefully most people know, which is Flinders Street Station. Kind of a really good story out of this one was it ended up being about 25 years between its repaint. So it was done about 15 years past before Commonwealth Games was coming up, and they decided to put all the scaffold up and get ready to coat it all, and they washed it all down, and they said, oh, actually this looks really good, we'll leave it for another 10 years. So as happy as we are that our product lasted 25 years, I'm sure there are a few people unhappy that we didn't get our coating on there at the time. But a really good story to have. Again, that was in AquaShield 25 years ago and then repainted in 2018. And those ones are just the products that we touched on earlier in a couple of key places. Another good thing about Flinders Street Station, I think it was about, was it 10 tonnes of bird poo had to be removed?
Yeah. But before painting, they had to have the hazmat suits, and it was very, very kind of toxic environment because it's been so long since people have been accessing that part of the property.
So as bad as things are, just glad you're not on that roof. Good one here, another touch on a couple of the products there.
Yeah, so that was that surface shield that we talked about for protecting Eastlink, Victoria Eastlink. That fast curing flooring product is the used in the Queensland Westpac helicopter hangar because they needed to get that helicopter back in really fast. And as I said, I don't know if it's a good feather in the cap, but a lot of prisons we're finding are using this very quick drying duration aluminium and steel protecting product because of obviously trying to get the prisoners back in fast. So I think if there's one thing that you take away from today, we'd love it to be this slide. This, who's your local contact that you can contact for Dulux, and obviously in partnership with your Procurement Australia or Australasia relationship manager. We'd love both to work with you for any of your property needs. So we'll just kind of hover on that just to make sure that everybody can take those details down for your relevant property services person in each state that can help you. And I think that is, that's a wrap from us. I guess what we'd love to hear from now is really some questions from yourself, and even I think Jacob's even got another slide coming around, a mentee question of what you'd like to hear more about next time. So how do we do it? I wonder do we want to do questions in the chat, or do we think we can ask, hey, if you've got a question, put yourself off mute and say, hey, I'd love to ask. I'm happy to see how we go off mute. And if we get lots, we can kind of line you up and answer as we go. But has anybody got any questions whilst we're doing our mentee subjects? Anyone got anything they wanted to ask specifically about our services or property maintenance, or even some of the products you might have heard from today?
If you don't have one specifically now, happy for you to call me on the number provided there, which I think will get sent out as well afterwards, or your relationship manager. We can always discuss in depth your own projects and properties to make sure everything's looking good there.
I always like to hear of the, the painting stories where you've had an interesting experience. So have you had lots of different quotes come in and they were all over the place? Or have you found, there was more issues than you thought at the beginning of the project? I'd love to hear about people's live kind of stories that they found that we, can use as examples to kind of see how we can support those projects.